Rojaz asked if I'm not surprised that Google shut down Stadia. Yes and no. Yes, because I thought that Google would stick with it longer despite not having an immense amount of traction. Maybe they were still looking for a product market fit. More than anything, I thought they were playing the long game, like just getting something out there, getting a foothold. And, this is one of those ideas that 10 years from now would have been the perfect time, right? It's a matter of timing. Or as I posted on Twitter, Reader, wave LO to Stadia. Reader, LO, Wave. They were all Google products that were sunset. So I was surprised. I thought Google was going to stick with it longer, despite not, I guess, having many users. It would have been still enough to prove the validity of what it was they were building. That is to say, if they set out to generate copious amounts of cash, I think that might have been the wrong goal for Stadia. We're still in this world where bandwidth can be challenging, or managing bandwidth, certainly within a home, can be challenging. Not everybody has gigabit speeds. And even if you did, managing a home network can still somewhat be a challenge, especially if you're dealing with other people. I mean, there's latency and lag, a lot of issues that could crop up. But that said, if the gaming experience works well enough, why not keep it going? Why not keep that foothold? Stadia made sense to me at a distance. I'm not a gamer, right? In fact, I would go as far as to say Stadia would have been interesting to me if most of the games may not have been like blockbuster titles, but more of the casual games, more of the pick up the controller, play for a while, and then put it down. Kind of like, what do they call it? Game snacks? There's a Google a web service. It's on the web. I think it even works on Android Auto too, if I'm not mistaken. I remember seeing the icon pop up. Game snacks runs within the web browser. These games, simple games, pick them up, put them down. That to me would have been interesting, because I would be able to pick up the controller, press a button, launch into Google TV or Chromecast or whatever, play a quick game, put it down. I mean, that's quite simply what I want to do. I just want to be in and out. I don't really want to fire up a console. I mean, mind you, the kind of console player I am, I've got a Switch. Hardly use it. In fact, we got 2 Switches. Jedi hasn't received hers yet. I got it as a gift from Shraiku in business. Still have an Xbox One, an Xbone, and a PS4, the Darth Vader edition, the Battlefront edition. That's the reason I have it. So I'm not a game player. And if they were gearing their service towards people who play video games, I'm not sure that it had a chance. It's a very competitive space, especially when you're fighting for developer attention. And especially if you're fighting for attention from users in general, gamer attention. You got to have a winning combo that is far better than anything anybody else is doing or could do at the time. So in my mind, I thought that Google Stadia was merely proving that their technology can work very, very well, right? And getting it out there such that there was a controller in every house, which is, in my humble opinion, one of their biggest mistakes. I think, I don't work at Google, I'm not privy to detailed, information about what everything, I have these perceptions from the outside. To get that controller in people's hands was paramount. And there are 2 things that I feel hurt it in the short and long run. Obviously, it's no longer around. They may resurrect it at some point in the future. You never know. Although, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, fool me, can't get fooled again. So, they charged for it. Or at least every time I looked, I'd have to pay. I'm like, I can't justify that cost. And then there was the controller. And I'm like, well, I'm paying for a controller that I might not use. And I'm paying for a service that I probably won't use. That's a tough pill to swallow. Bitter pill to swallow, I should say. Mixing metaphors here. So it would have been nice if they would have just, quote unquote, given away the controller. Or if you buy the controller, you just get the service. Buy the controller, you're in, right? Because then it would have been in more hands. Like if their whole goal was to get a massive amount of users to play these games on Stadia, they should have given the controller away, right? The revenue would have been made in the games or selling the subscription service. But if they were looking to gain users, they needed to basically give the service away initially, at least for, an indeterminate period of time, 5 years or whatever that happened, the runway happens to be. Just pay for the controller. I'm like, I probably would have done that. I probably would have said, oh, okay, pay $100 for the controller and I'll be able to access all these games. Okay, cool. I don't feel like I'm locked into a subscription, but I don't know if the market timing was right for what Google wanted out of it. So they've sunset it, which is very unfortunate. Not just because there are people who liked Stadia and wanted to play with it, but because it could discourage others from trying. And this is the thing, my hot take on Twitter earlier, I'm seeing everybody dunk on Google like, oh, it's another product killed. And like, yeah, it's disappointing, but you know what? I would rather Google or any company or any individual take a chance, take a risk, and try something and fail than not try it at all. Imagine if we would have heard about it, like at a distance, like, oh man, that would have been cool if Google would have done this and Google would have done that, but never did it. That's a different scenario. So I'm not surprised that it got sunset, but I am kind of surprised because I honestly believed that they would have stuck with it longer because 5 years from now, it's going to be a different ecosystem. Or they could have pivoted, or, seriously, like a hard pivot. Like, okay, we're going to be focusing on casual games, which I know you're playing on the Android, but or iPhone, whatever, your handheld device. But still, for those who are sitting in front of a TV, when I'm in front of the TV, I'm like, I turn on Google TV and I look for whatever program I happen to be watching. I don't even think about gaming because, well, first of all, it wasn't really integrated because I didn't buy into the Stadia service on my Google TV. Even when I was using an Apple TV and there's the Apple Arcade, I downloaded a few games, but inevitably I never played. I couldn't even justify $5 a month because there's so many entertainment options out there. But for Google to sunset it so quickly, I just feel like they couldn't have pushed their technology far enough or didn't have a chance to push it far enough, for themselves and potentially for an ecosystem that now really doesn't exist on Google's platform, at all, at least for the time being, right? Xbox has got their thing, Microsoft's got their thing, Apple's got their thing, but Google? Well, I think that was unfortunate. So I'm happy that they tried and disappointed that they didn't quite get out of it what they were hoping for. I'm both surprised that they sunset it, and I'm also not surprised. Google has to, potentially start thinking differently about the products and services that they put out there. Let's not get started about their communications apps. Let's not go that way at all. Google is playing in the same space as Microsoft and Apple and all these other companies. But the more they do, the better off everybody is. The less they do, I feel, maybe not the worse off, but I feel that we're missing out. And I'm saying that about every company, for every developer, for every person who has an idea. 20 minutes working on an idea and failing is better than 20 minutes thinking about an idea and not doing anything at all. In chat, Error Mangoes Not Found said they had a Chromecast controller giveaway promo for a while. Yeah, but if you missed it, you missed it. That's the problem. Stephen Bueller says you don't need a controller for Stadia. It worked with the keyboard mouse on PC at least, and you could play free-to-play games like Destiny 2 for free without the subscription. It wasn't really communicated very clearly what you could or could not do. Stephen also notes this was also being done while Google's doing a lot of other cuts. They chopped Studio 120 headcount by half. This is the worst time to pull back on big ideas. The absolute worst time, especially if you have as much runway as possible. And Google does. Google's got resources. They've got the brain power. So Stadia, what happened?